Welcome, everybody, to the Building Aaronsburg podcast. I'm Thomas Aaronsburg.
And I'm Catherine Aaronsburg.
Today, we're going to talk about our Cushman motor vehicle.
Oh, my. Calling it a motor vehicle. Oh, boy.
And we post about it a lot. I know Catherine posts about it a lot on her social media.
I was very hot on it back, quarantine 2020. And things have tapered off a little bit.
And I post about it a fair amount just because I feel like I'm working on it constantly. Even when I'm not working on it mentally, I'm working on it.
It's the big tab that's open in the back of your brain. It's labeled Cushman.
And there's several sub-tabs to that tab.
So if you guys don't know what a Cushman is a vehicle. A lot of times they're all-terrain type things. They're very small. They range anywhere from what they call a mini truck. If you guys have ever seen what they use in Italy to drive down those little narrow alleyways that they have in Europe, a lot of times they'll use a little mini truck. And a Cushman is just a brand name, just like Jeep or Honda or Toyota or any of them. In India, they're called tuk-tuks, I've discovered recently. Yep. And so if you're familiar with that shape and size, that's what this is. They're used a lot, at least in the past. They have been used for military bases, postal service, delivery. What else have they been used for? Meter maids. Yeah, they're these super tiny vehicles that are really versatile, one-person rider type things. And they come in all different shapes and sizes, and they've been made since probably the 40s and 50s. Yeah. I mean, they're really old, yeah. And so, of course, they've changed over the years as far as their shape, just like any car or vehicle would with the models that as they evolve, they kind of go with the shape of the new era. And
and technology upgrades and not technology in the sense like electronic components, but even like tire design and brake design and automatic transmission versus.
Well, all that being said, we bought a Cushman.
So
it's not a new Cushman.
Let's start way back. Why did we even get one of these?
It's all my fault. I think it's all my fault. Although you encouraged it, I have to say.
Okay, so here let's give you some backstory. Ever since we were dating, definitely since we've been married.
Oh, we're going way back. I didn't know we were going that far back.
You've wanted a horse.
Okay.
And
you went really far back. I thought you were going to say Vespa.
I think that's the horse, and then the Vespa was like part 2 of.
Yeah, what's
you knew that the horse
thing?
Was never going to happen.
I mean, the horse is going to happen someday.
We'll see.
I'm building a business.
And so part 2 was the Vespa.
Uh-huh.
We went to Italy and you saw one. I think maybe you wanted one even before we went.
I wanted one before we went there, and then we saw them, and I'm in Italy, and they're riding around on Piaggios, and I'm just like, oh, please give me one of those. And of course, in Italy, they don't have big families usually there, but they will ride the entire family on that thing. There'll be a dog like in between your legs up front.
Yep.
There'll be a baby in your lap, and then you, and then somebody behind you, like on your back, there's another baby. Like they carry the entire family on one little cart. And then meanwhile, they're delivering ice and cleaning up the streets with the mini truck. Has everything you need in the back in their little covered area. I mean, it is just the cutest doggone thing you've ever seen in your life.
So, I was not a fan of the horse. I was not a fan of the Vespa. The Vespa just doesn't make a lot of sense for Mobile.
You also think they're dangerous.
It's either hot or it's cold.
You're not a motorcycle person. Overall, you think they're dangerous. Tattoos and motorcycles ain't your jam, for sure.
I agree. But I think just from a practical standpoint, when would you ride one in Mobile? You'd ride one for
Let me just tell you,
a few weeks in the spring and a few weeks in the fall.
Yeah, but as often as I'm going to end up driving the Cushman. Just about as often.
Right, so not very often.
But that's kind of how it came to be. So in true you and me form, the way that this all came to be was we now live in a neighborhood that's a very, I would call, golf cart friendly neighborhood. It is not a golf course neighborhood, but it has become a thing where people tool around on their little golf carts, and there's little shopping areas right outside of our neighborhood that you can get to off of the main road.
Right.
And so you can go up and get your donuts in the morning on Saturday morning.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, you can go up to Chick-fil-A. Like you can go access some places with a very small vehicle, and it's just fun to have that.
Right.
But in true Catherine fashion, I didn't want to have a traditional, as I call it, white bread suburbia golf cart.
Right.
Or what do they call them? A Polaris, or like one of these like little ATV type things. For sure, no four-wheelers
Cushman
for us.
actually makes golf carts now too.
Okay.
The Cushman company.
Well, all of
but
that.
Yes, you didn't want the modern day, what's trendy now.
Yeah, I didn't want what everybody else has. You guys, it's a theme. If you haven't picked up on it yet, it's a theme. I didn't want what everybody else was having, and so I wanted to do a little different. And also, golf carts are expensive. Really expensive. Like $5,000 or $7,000 expensive.
Right.
And I was not having any of that, so I've always got to find a more unique way and a less expensive way to do the thing that I want to do. And so I started searching for this, this vehicle. I didn't know what it was at the time. I hadn't thought of, I didn't even know that they had the little mini trucks in the United States. I didn't know that was a thing. So I started doing some research.
Well, there's that Thai restaurant that has one.
Oh, that's right.
I think that's where you saw it.
Yes. Well, that's where I saw it, but the Cushman is not that brand.
No, it's not.
They actually imported that from Thailand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, she paid to have that imported in from Thailand. And that was something that I could never have done. I wouldn't have even thought to do that. Even though I knew that that's how she did it, I wouldn't even know where to start to do that. And so I tried to go a little more domestic with it and try to find something here. And a friend of mine was like, "Oh, you want a Cushman?" So I started researching the name Cushman. And the only ones that I thought were cute were the vintage ones from like the 60s era. They're round. They've got a lot of more soft features. The more modern ones, they use them a lot. If you watch after a football game or something, they come out there in their little carts that they pick up the cones and stuff in.
Yeah,
that's usually a Cushman. But they're very squared off. They're usually like this big flatbed thing.
Yeah, they kind of look like they have all-terrain tires on them too.
Yeah, yeah. And so the older ones are cute, super cute. Like, you're starting to see them a lot now with they're turning a lot of them into wedding, what do you call it? Like, you serve Prosecco out of them, or champagne, or you serve like dessert off of them, or whatever. Like, they're turning into these cute little, really business things for people to like, little entrepreneurial type things. And so anyway, all that being said, I found one on Facebook Marketplace, as I do, in Destin, Florida. And Destin is about a 2.5-hour drive from us.
Yeah, it's not close, but it's not super far.
Yeah, and I don't even know. I guess you knew I was looking. I think we had discussed it, right?
I think you had looked at several, because I want to say there were others. There was some.
Yeah, there was
even
one
here
kind of close.
in Mobile somewhere, and
there's like half the price.
Sketch about it. And
no, it wasn't sketch. It was just the first one I saw. The guy sent me a video. It's a very short video. And of course, us not knowing about anything about how they're supposed to sound or anything. Now, keep in mind, Thomas and I, neither one know anything about vintage vehicles. Well, vehicles really at all. In
general, yeah. I mean,
I think
we can change the oil.
Yeah, we can change the brakes. Yeah, we just
that's
didn't
about.
know.
I mean, generally, we know how a car works. You turn the key.
We thought we knew how a
turns
car
a starter,
works
which turns the engine.
Until
then we don't know after that point.
Until we bought the Cushman, and now we're really learning some things. So I saw it down in Destin. We had a discussion about it. I'm messaging the seller to see if it's still available, to see what's wrong with it, because they said in the listing it does not run.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it doesn't run, So I'm thinking.
But the guy also said it would be easy to fix.
He did, yes. So we decided to take a trip to Destin.
Yep.
It was during I don't think it was quarantine, but I think it was maybe like May or June of 2020. I don't exactly know when we bought it. It was in the summer, I think. Right. But I think we were just stir crazy and wanting to get out of the house. Like, what the heck? Let's just go look at it, know? And so we drove down there, and I have a truck. I have a F-150 pickup truck. And our intent was to go down there and look at it, and that was it. If we are going to buy it, we'll rent a trailer while we're down there. We don't even know if we're going to buy it, so I'm not going to haul a trailer all the way down to Destin.
Right, and then not buy it.
Yeah. But if you don't bring a trailer, you're going to end up needing a trailer.
Right.
So we get down there. Turns out the guy that's selling it is a professional car mechanic.
He restores cars,
right? So he's got like a Lamborghini and a couple Ferraris and like
he had every kind of car.
Every kind of like foreign luxury car you can imagine in his garage that he's working on and restoring for people all over the country. This is not just local people.
I mean, he was name dropping a little bit.
Yeah.
With some people that No, I don't think he was doing it to talk himself up.
He wasn't name dropping the name of his clients. He was name dropping the
who
people
used to own the car.
Who used to own the car. Didn't Johnny Cash own one of the cars that were there or something?
Like this one Elvis drove and
all this movie. To say this dude knows how to fix cars, and for him to say it's an easy fix.
Right.
Precious. Just very precious is all I can say.
Easy for him.
That's right. So I'm thinking, you know what? This thing isn't going to fit on my truck. We're not buying it.
Right.
It was $1,900. We will tell you how much it cost. It was a $1,900 Cushman. 1960. We even know what year it is. We haven't 100% determined.
We think it's between 60 and 63, maybe.
We have an owner's manual 60s. That we bought.
Yeah.
So I had some sort of outer body experience where I'm saying this probably isn't a good idea. And Thomas is going, you know what? I would love to learn about small engine repair. It's fine. Let's get it.
Yeah.
So that's when my out of body experience started. As you and this guy are figuring out how to push, like measuring to see if it'll fit in the F-150
truck. Which it barely did.
Oh, gosh.
Pushed all the way up, leave the bed down.
The bed was down. You guys, he let you have straps from his own place.
Right.
We had to have extra straps to strap that thing down. It's tall, so it's like hanging. It's hanging not off the end of my truck, but almost. It's up super tall. We're certainly an eyesore on the interstate on the way home.
Right.
But you guys finally get that thing up on the truck, and all I could think was, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is insane. We don't spend money on frivolous things. We don't have toys.
Right.
This is insane.
It's probably the first thing like that we've ever bought.
Ever that I know of.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything else. We don't have, boats or golf carts.
No.
All-terrain vehicles. We don't have any of that kind of stuff.
So meanwhile, we've got 4 kids and a puppy in the back seat waiting for us to make this purchase. Like, we had gone down there to decide. And so imagine having 4 kids in the car and a puppy, and you're trying to decide if you're going to purchase a vehicle.
Right.
Basically.
Well, and to make things worse, they were promised that we were going to go to the beach.
Yes, they were promised the beach. Holy mackerel. Our children really are saints.
They didn't think that we would be there for.
We were there deciding for like 2 hours. And I think we got down
there. Well, not just deciding to buy it, but then trying to figure out how to get this thing on your truck. Your truck's 2.5, 3 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
This thing's not light.
Yeah.
We had to push it back. He had like a garage where he works in his
garage was elevated.
And there was a ramp.
And there was
going in there. So you backed your truck up to the ramp, and then he got some pieces of wood.
Mm-hmm.
It was a.
But y'all had to push the Cushman into the garage in order to get it up on the. Anyway, so we pushed it all up there, strapped it all in. By we, I mean you and that guy. And the kids are all they really were patient, waiting in the car. And then it's like, sorry guys, we're not going to the beach because the beaches in Destin close.
Yeah.
Like the public beaches close at 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And so we couldn't go to the beach.
We had to go get dinner. And I think we stood in line for dinner for like
almost crazy
30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, by the time we finally got the dinner, it was like 6:30 or something.
It was like 6:45. I don't even know. It was something. And so then we did try to go to the beach. I made a very scary turn on a beach that I didn't think I could get out of.
There was a drop off from the asphalt onto the sand, and we had this gigantic thing.
If you guys could picture an F-150, the profile of an F-150, and then the thing that is the cargo inside of the truck bed was about half again as tall as the cab of the truck. And so we were very top heavy, extremely top heavy. So I'm like teeter-tottering.
It looked top heavy. The weight of that Cushman is all in.
I know, but it felt top heavy. When you're driving a truck, it felt. I was so scared.
Right.
And so imagine all that top heaviness, and we've got this huge drop from the asphalt onto the beach where we're trying to park to get out and get onto the beach. And just with driving, like I dropped off and I was like, nope, we're not going to the beach, guys. That's it. We're going home. I'm sorry. Like I'm sweating. This is so scary. So
I think the kids understood that too. Like when they felt and saw the whole thing, like, all right, let's not do the beach. We'll just do the car.
Yeah, they were totally fine with it. Once they saw the stress, I mean, it was a lot like the time we went to Haleakala and we were driving up the mountain, and you when we got to the top, you got out of the car and I remember you threw your arms down like you were
shaking my hands
you were
out.
shaking something off of you, and you were like, ugh. I can feel this anxiety and stress. Like it was just, and that's what the kids felt, I think, with me. Cause I had had enough of that. So we went home. By the way, we had hit Buc-ee's 3 times that day? Or was it 2 times?
Twice. On the way
We
there
went
and the way
there
back.
and the way back.
Yeah.
The second time, of course, on the way back, we had the Cushman. I mean, the looks that you get when you're driving down the road with that thing on the back.
Oh, yeah.
That was just the start of it. Of course, then you actually start driving down the road in the Cushman and you really get some looks. But
right.
So that was the reason that we got it. That was the story of how we got it. Then we get it home. It doesn't work, by the way. Right. Getting it back off the truck. Do you remember that?
Yeah. We used the same method. Yeah. I remember that much.
My dad came over. My mom and my dad came over.
And I remember I pulled the truck up and I basically put the wheels
down in
the gutter.
Yeah.
And then opened the bed. Well, the bed was already open.
Slide her out. Yeah.
And so it only had to slide down like a foot into the yard.
Yeah. But anyway, it didn't work. So we had to put it in neutral.
Right. So the guy that we bought it from thought it was the fuel pump originally. So that's the first thing we bought was a fuel pump. And I put it in and I go to turn it. It won't start. We had to buy a battery too. Mm-hmm. I remember buying a battery.
It was actually the battery. That was actually what was wrong with it.
It was the battery cables.
They were reversed.
They were reversed, and I don't know
how
why.
You didn't figure that out.
Yeah, that they were
Well, let me just tell you that this story, that little mini story inside this big story of Thomas replacing the fuel pump instead of looking at the battery first, that is the beginning of every
single problem we've had.
Every single project that we had with this Cushman so far is that basically you always go to the extreme.
Because you think that the simple solution, it can't possibly be that.
And so far, it has always been the simple solution.
Right.
So far.
Well, it was in that case, the solution was so simple, it didn't even cross my mind. Because when you turn the key, the starter spins. So you're thinking, okay, well, it's not the battery, and it's not the starter. Because the battery's getting power to the starter, and the starter's turning.
But didn't it take you a while because you had replaced the battery, and because they were backward, it kept killing the battery, right?
No, because I turned the starter 7,000 times, it killed the battery.
Oh.
The starter's an electric motor. So when you turn it, it uses a lot of juice to do that. So in your car, by the way, when you do that, when you start your car, it uses a bunch of juice from your battery, but as you run your car, the alternator recharges the battery. But because the car would never start, I'm just sitting there turning the starter. Mm-hmm. Little did I know, the starter's spinning backwards because the cables were wrong.
Right.
So it's not engaging the flywheel, which is turning the motor.
Mm-hmm.
So it just never started. So I'm thinking, well, it's not the starter, it's not the battery. Let's move on to the next thing, being fuel.
Fuel pump, yeah.
But it actually was. It wasn't the battery and it wasn't the starter. It was the
you replaced the starter too, by the way.
Right.
You did that too. There was lots of
Well, because the guy told me it could be the Bendix, which now we're getting super high tech.
We don't need to get into all that.
The Bendix on the starter. And so I was like, oh, well, then I just replace the starter. Or I could replace the Bendix, which the starter was cheaper and easier. So I did that. And it wasn't that. So now the good thing is we have a spare starter and a spare fuel pump.
In case it ever dies again. So I just remember part of the thing being with buying the Cushman was parts are easily available.
So we thought.
The fuel pump, easy. Starter,
easy to find.
Easy.
Super easy to
Battery,
find.
Easy. Then we get to some real problems. So for a while, this thing is running. Mm-hmm. For a while, we've got
perfectly operational.
Yeah, we got it up and running. It's not great. I mean, it's a 1960 whatever vehicle. It's not meant to be driven across the bay or whatever. It's a funsies vehicle for me to go around the neighborhood, which we did several times. It's fun to go on a little evening drive. It's fun to haul the kids around in. We planned for the kids to be able to, because by the way, it's a stick shift. Mm-hmm. So I wanted for the kids to learn how to drive a stick shift.
Right.
They had all kinds of entrepreneurial dreams about it. We're going to fix it up. We're going to do like they have done in these other places, and they can sell little bunches of flowers, or they can sell, I don't know, they have all kinds of ideas for entrepreneurial. And let me tell you, anybody will buy anything off that Cushman.
Yeah.
It is the cutest thing you've ever seen. Selling something that it sells everything. That thing sells whatever you want to sell off of it. Doesn't matter. Kissing booth? Let's do it. In the middle of COVID, that thing would sell kisses in a kissing booth. Anyway, so you have these plans and dreams and whatever for this thing, and we get it working for a while, and then it just kind of puts out on us again.
Yeah. So the engine was the first thing. There was something wrong with the engine, and it turned out being the carburetor. So I learned how to clean a carburetor, which was an awesome experience, although I didn't clean it properly, or I didn't put it back together properly.
Yeah, I needed another.
Like most things, and we're going to tell another story in just a minute, when you go to fix something, because this thing's so old, a lot of the parts that just break because of wear and tear, when you go to take something apart, the wear and tear parts break, like
right,
to where you can't replace them. So when I took the carburetor apart
to clean it,
some of the gaskets failed. They just tore. They're like obliterated when you take things off. So I had to make new gaskets, and I thought I made good ones, and I didn't. But we had a friend of ours that's a mechanic, or he's maybe not a mechanic necessarily, but he works on small engines.
Yeah, he knows about small engines.
He came over and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's this," and he fixed it super easy. Got it back on. Got everything back working again.
Probably 2 weeks later. So the history of the Cushman so far has been not working, working for a month, not working for a week, then working for another 3 weeks. Like, it's never been continuously working for a big segment of time.
Right.
And to some extent, that's okay. You know, like, we knew that it's an old vehicle. It's something that we want to work on. Thomas wants to learn about small engine repair. He's learned a ton.
Yes, I have.
And I've learned a ton. I mean, the two of us, I haven't learned it, of course, because I don't understand engines as well as you do to start with. But I certainly understand more than I did before we got this thing. So everything's a learning experience. It's fine. But the ultimate crash and burn has come recently when we changed the oil for the first time.
Right. We changed the oil. I moved the fuel pump to a more efficient spot. Our mechanic friend came. He found this part that was missing. He found it on eBay.
So I ordered that bad boy.
And that really was that was like our first real sign that, like, oh, some of these parts are actually dang near impossible to find.
Yeah.
Although the fuel pump was easy to find and the starter was easy to find, this one little piece that connected to the governor on the engine, super hard to find.
But we found it.
He found it. We got it put on there. Got everything working again. And we go to drive it again for the first time, and the back tire
locks up.
Completely locks up on us. So we shove it back as far as we can out of our driveway.
Where it still sits, by the way.
And I was like, well, let me just, it's clearly the brake has seized up. I just need to probably take it off and clean it. And while I'm taking it off, let's go and upgrade
to a caliper brake.
Disc brakes versus drum brakes, which disc brake technology did not exist back then. Or if it did, it would have been very expensive, and it just wasn't the common thing. So I found some stuff online. Seems like it's going to be pretty easy to change out, but when I go to pull the old drum brakes off, it breaks, like completely breaks. They're made out of cast iron, and the cast iron broke. So we're kind of stuck now, because what we thought would be a pretty easy switching out, like some of the other stuff, like the starter, like the fuel pump. This ended up being more like the little piece that we bought off of eBay.
But this is becoming like an ongoing issue,
right?
And one that nitpicky.
It's getting worse and worse and worse.
Nitpicking me is infighting is starting a little bit, because I wanted this cute little thing to like just tool around the neighborhood and for it to be fun, and Thomas is like, but we need to have caliper brakes because it's safer if you're driving in the rain or you're driving at a high speed. And I'm like, I'm not driving at a high speed. I'm driving at 10 miles an hour throughout the neighborhood. I don't need for there to be like these uber safety conditions. So it's another example of like wanting, I mean, Thomas always wants to do everything the right way the first time kind of a thing, which is fine. But at the same time, like.
Right. So we're running into an issue. I don't know that we'll be able to do that without doing some major reworking.
Changing to the
changing to the disc brakes would be very hard to do without doing some major reworking of the back end of that vehicle.
Right, but now you've already broken the hub.
But because the hub's broken, finding a hub for this thing, I mean, I've scoured the internet and I can't find one. So
APB, if anybody has a 1963 hub, Cushman hub.
Well, so here's something else we've learned about it, and this is getting somewhat technical. Maybe you don't care, but the end of the axle is tapered, meaning it starts thick and it gets thinner towards the end. They don't make axles like that anymore.
It's a huge problem. The whole thing is a giant problem.
So I can't just go to some auto parts store and say, hey, I need a hub. Because it's not going to fit.
The entire project is a huge matter of not even knowing what questions to ask until you run into such a catastrophic problem that you don't even know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. We're just now figuring out what the questions are to ask.
right. Once you've already busted it up and
Right.
now you can't repair it. I mean, people are like, just weld back together the hub. You can't just do that, you know?
Right.
And so we're basically going to have to wait, I think, until someone
Can we
sells
just
one.
find something? Yeah, I mean,
We might have. We were just discussing. We're going up to Callaway Gardens in the summer, and where there's a kind of a big area of Cushman sales. I think they may have sold them up there. Or that was where their manufacturer was, or something at one time. There's little spots all over the United States that have
they're really big on the West Coast.
Big concentrations of Cushman.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're actually on a Cushman Facebook page where people talk about stuff all the time. They'll be selling them. They're selling parts and stuff. So we're actively, constantly looking for the parts that we need right now.
Right.
And so I think we're just going to have to wait until someone has one available and can ship it to us, and hope to goodness it's the right one. Because you guys, the variation in these things, the different types that they made customized for different years and different uses is unimaginable. I mean, there's just so many different types. I don't think that I have seen another one that looks exactly like ours yet. And I don't mean color. I'm not even talking about that.
Yeah,
I'm
just
talking
style.
Yeah, just straight style. The fact that ours is 3 wheels. It has a handlebar. It doesn't have a wheel. Like, it doesn't have a steering wheel. Yeah. It has a handlebar. It has a cover in the front, but not in the back. It doesn't have doors. They used to make like cloth or plastic all-weather type doors for them. And so there's just so many different variants when it comes to these things, and I've never seen one that looked like ours. So you can imagine that.
Well, you have to also think that these things are 60 years old, 50 or 60 years old. We don't even know how old this thing is, but so I mean, you think of even cars that are that old. You know, I don't know what the most popular car was in the early 60s. Maybe some model of Ford vehicle. I don't know how easy it would be to find parts for that.
Well, there's a lot of Fords being remade now and remodeled, and so I think there's a lot of aftermarket type parts you can buy that will go back to all those vintage times. Not for Cushman. It's not popular enough, and it's not prolific enough, I don't think. Right. These are all things we didn't know before we bought it. You know, we bought this cute thing for our personal use and something that we thought would be. And not even just for personal use. I mean, I'm planning on using it for work in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And putting the logo on the side and things like that. And I'm sitting here thinking about, how do we paint it? Who am I going to go to get it painted? Because that's already been a problem, trying to find someone to even paint the thing. Yeah. It's got to be completely rewired. It doesn't have a horn. It doesn't have
it has no
a speedometer.
Yeah.
It has a headlight.
It does. It has a light.
It has a headlight that looks like a floodlight that you would put outside your house.
That thing on there.
Yeah. So it has some things, but all those things need to be reworked and redone. But the engine is good. We're good. Now we've fixed the engine. That whole assembly is fine.
The engine and the transmission.
Yeah.
For sure. 100% for sure work.
Yeah.
How they're supposed
to.
So
now that we've got those, now this dang brake in the back. Yeah. If that brake had not happened, we would be on to the pretty things.
Right.
We would be on to rewiring it, putting a speedometer, a fuel gauge, all these different things, painting it. Ugh, it's killing me. It is killing me. So that is, as if we needed another project around here, that has been our most recent. And I think Thomas takes it on a lot more because it is mechanical. I'm sitting here thinking of what color.
I mean, until we get it up and running, there's no point in painting it. I mean, it's just going to...
No, but I feel like my job is to find someone who can give me a price on painting it, because when we get that fixed, I want to hit the ground running and get it painted.
Right.
But, so there's lots of things I could line up in the meantime. But I have to be honest.
We don't know. It's a waiting game right now. We're waiting to either find a hub or...
We don't know if we'll ever find one. If we will ever find one.
Right.
And that, to me, is that's the part that puts me on pause, because I don't want to go and find all these parts and pieces and spend my time on it if we could just be putting it up for sale on the Cushman Facebook page not too long from now. I mean, it's just... I'm not quite to the point where I want to just stick it on the market, but... It's a major...
Yeah, it is.
It's a major pain in the rear, for sure.
Yep.
So, for all those people who've been watching our Instagram and, people in the neighborhood be like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous of the Cushman. I'm like, you've seen me 3 times in it. That's exactly how many times it's worked since we got it. Yeah. We drive by in this circle every single time.
If you don't see us, you'll definitely hear us. That thing's loud. There's no mufflers on it. So
yeah, we got to add mufflers and things to it.
Straight pipes out of the engine.
It's fun, and I think the kids love it, and they'll make some good memories in it if we can just get it running.
Yeah.
If it was our only project, it wouldn't feel so cumbersome, but I think since it's our only or not our only project right now, it just feels like
a lot of sticks in the fire right now.
Yeah, there's just been so many times where I'm like, oh, that'd be so cute to put in a Christmas parade. Oh, that'd be so cute for us to do a little Mardi Gras parade with it. I don't know why I keep wanting to do parades with it, but
popular thing with those.
Yeah, so there's things I want to do with it, and they just keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed.
Right.
Whiny, whatever. Bigger fish to fry, different problems to be had, but that's the deal with the Cushman.
Well, a lot of people have asked. I mean, the reason that I wanted to do an episode on this is because a lot of people ask about it. I mean, I know that there's times when I'm just out and people ask, "Hey, how's that little truck working?" Like, it's not. Thanks for asking.
I know. Thanks for
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Let me reopen that tab that had minimized. Back open again.
Yeah. So. Meanwhile, by the way, we will be at the amount of money we could have spent on a brand new golf cart or more by the time this thing is over. Should have just bought a golf cart.
I don't know. Maybe. It really.
Maybe.
I guess after painting it and all the other things we have to do.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
And ultimately, you can't drive it as far, but it's so cute.
I was gonna say, I mean, but that's
I really do feel like it is
not why we bought it.
It is the start of probably the rest of our lives. I won't say obsession, but this will not be our last little vintage vehicle. I don't think. We've never had this conversation, so I don't know.
That's the first I've ever heard you say that. So.
But I don't think so. Do you?
I don't know.
Even if we were to fix it up and sell it, I think once you get that bug of these little, I mean, they sound so good, and they're loud, but they sound so cool when you drive them, and the little curves they have, those little vintage curves, they're just so good.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm not even gonna commit to it yet.
They're just really hard to find parts for. Would be my biggest hesitation.
Next time we go, I'm not saying we get another Cushman, but it could be.
Well, so Cushman was the most popular brand of
this type
little
thing.
Truckster things that existed back then. They're not now. I mean, Cushman still makes them, but so does.
Why doesn't the Cushman? Whatever, we can go into that later. That's a whole separate story. But all I'm saying is, I think once you get into the bug of these little vintage cars and their curves, and I don't know, it's all the curviness. It's so dang cute, and
yeah, I guess if you got a car, if you got like a 70s.
You know what is so
hot rod or something, I don't know.
Cute, and I want one so bad, is those new. Actually, I want the old one, but they've made a real good replica in these new Broncos. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
With the two-tone, they have the white top.
Yep.
And then the seafoam color side on it.
They're a lot smaller though.
Like than the originals.
When I think of a Bronco, I think of like O.J. Simpson Bronco.
Yeah, but we're talking about older than that.
I know.
That's like a 90-something.
Right. So the older than that.
We're talking about like
smaller.
70, 71.
They were smaller, then they got big, and now they're back to small again.
Yeah, but I feel like the ones that they have now are replicated after the 70s ones, which were the real good ones.
Which I don't know if you pay attention to kind of muscle car type stuff, but that's the done with the Dodge
Thomas,
Charger.
I get it the monthly.
No, but the Dodge Charger, they've done the same with that.
Yeah, I'm not really into the muscle. I don't know what it is about. It's a lot like the what are the Scout? Have you seen the Scout?
Mm-mm.
Scout looks a lot like. This is probably blasphemy to anybody who collects these things. I'm probably really speaking out of turn here, but the Scout looks a lot like the Bronco, the old Bronco. They've got that big like.
What brand is it?
I think it's a Scout. I think that is
that's
International. I think it's International is the name of the brand, and Scout is the
model.
The model, I think.
Okay.
If I just got that correct, I pulled that directly out of my rear end because I don't know why I know that.
Yeah, if that's true. Of that. I've never heard of them before.
Yeah, they're great looking cars. Just like, but I think that's they'll probably go back out of style again. But they're just really popular right now. With all the, they'll put like, they just got these like giant seats. They probably didn't have any seat belts in them, but they had these big bench seats in them that fit like 14 people across. They're just like fun, like driving around, tooling around on bumpy road type cars.
Never heard of it.
Country roads and dirt road type vehicles. I don't know.
Okay.
So I could definitely see myself moving up to a Scout or a
Oh, yes, I do. I just Googled the image.
You like it? Which one are you looking at?
So I've seen these before.
Which one are you looking at? Scout? It
International
is?
Scout.
Yes!
Yeah.
Gosh, guys, sometimes my brain...
They remind me of, like, what people probably drove on, like, the beach.
I'm telling you, yeah, it's like...
Like, the Beach Boys probably had one of these.
Yeah! You put a surfboard on the top of that thing.
Yeah.
Some of them have... Do they have
a lot of them
soft
had,
tops
like,
or hard tops?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or soft tops, yeah.
Yeah, they're real good. But doesn't it kind of look like a Bronco a little bit, like the
70s? Yeah, it looks more like the... Yeah, I would say that. I would say somewhere between a Jeep and a Bronco.
But they're real desirable right now. I have a friend that collects the Scout, and it's very much like the Cushman, where they like go around and they find people who have these things and they're just stuck in their backyards, places rotting. Their wheels are rotting off, like they're just shells of vehicles.
That's what's happening with Cushman,
and that's what's happening with Cushman too. So we're trying to fight the good fight when it comes to this thing, but we don't know what we're doing, and we're not going to ever ruin it. You know, we're not going to do anything crazy, because I've definitely seen lots of YouTube videos where you have a mechanic involved, and mechanics aren't real concerned with the design of things. They just want the engine to run and for it to be, they like tune up all the things in the engine and all those components, the mechanical components, so it runs great, but it looks like a hot mess. They'll add all kinds of craziness to it to make it custom, and it just ruins, in my opinion, the original idea of the vehicle. And I think that we don't know what we're doing mechanically, but we're trying to do it right. We'll buy 4 fuel pumps before we get the right configuration or whatever, but I don't think that we're going to do it wrong in the end, and I think that the design will be really good too. So it'll look like, not like... I keep envisioning the one that I saw was these things used to be used partially sometimes as paddy wagons.
Yeah.
They used to, I don't even know one person could fit in the back. Not even a full grown man. Like, what were you putting? Children,
if they sat down, you could probably fit maybe 2 or 3 people back there.
Anyway, so they're using these things for paddy wagons, and this mechanic got a hold of a Cushman, and he wanted to recreate the paddy wagon, and he put rebar in there to make it the bars. Yeah. It just looked so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. And he like spray painted it blue, like with a can of spray paint. It was just, I was like, you're ruining it. Just let me have it. Can you just fix it mechanically?
But he got it running.
Well, because he's
a step ahead of us.
Well, I mean, a lot of it comes down to money. Like a guy like that,
and to me, it's more than just money. It's resources too. You have to know where to get this stuff.
Oh, I was gonna say resources is money to me, but
no,
yeah.
like he knows somebody that knows somebody, or he
there was no parts to be had.
Them or something.
It was a matter of tuning up an engine and stuff that on an engine that's easy to get. But then when it came to the body of it, that was the stuff that he was creating himself, and that's where the hot mess came in my opinion. He was not searching out parts to recreate what the paddy wagon looked like. He was making his own, and that's where the real train wreck that I couldn't look away from was happening. And he was wheeling around the street, and I was like, it's going so beautifully. Can you just pass it off to me, and I can...
I'll redesign it.
I'm not going to paint it. I'm going to send it to somebody else to paint, but I would spend the money to get it done the right way instead of putting rebar as paddy wagon bars and spray paint. Just not good. So anyway, if you guys have any questions about our Cushman that we haven't answered here, I feel like we've told the whole story.
That's pretty much the whole story. I mean, there's details. There's a lot of details, but
maybe
you would fall asleep listening to them probably.
That may have already happened at this point. You guys make sure to send your T's and P's, your thoughts and prayers for the our involvement in the Cushman, that we don't give up on it, because I really do want to keep it, but not being able to find parts is a real problem.
Yep.
And it's frustrating. And the longer it sits there...
And it's keeping it off the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just collecting rust right now.
Yeah. Yep. If you have any questions for us, you can email us at buildingaaronsburg@gmail.com. You can message us on Instagram at buildingaaronsburg or Facebook at buildingaaronsburg. Until next time, bye y'all.
Bye y'all.